All right, let's get right into it. For decades now, the entire global financial system has basically run on one thing, the US dollar. But, quietly at first, and now it's getting faster, the world's second biggest economy is making a move that could honestly change everything. We're going to break down what's going on, why it's happening, and, what this all could mean for the future of money. This quote right here, it really just gets to the heart of the whole thing, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this weird contradiction. China's selling off what most people would call the safest financial asset on the planet, but at the exact same time, it's buying up one of the oldest. It is a massive, massive pivot, and it seems to fly in the face of all conventional wisdom. So, what's the game plan here? To really grasp the scale of what's happening, we've got to look at the numbers. They tell a really clear story of a great divergence. It's like a tale of two assets that are moving in completely opposite directions. Okay, so first, let's talk about what they're selling. China's holdings of American government debt, they've cratered to just over $682 billion. That is the lowest they have been in almost 20 years. And what's wild is that this is happening while a lot of other big economies are still buying. So China isn't just taking a little break, it is actively and very strategically backing away from the US dollar system. So where's that money going? Well, a lot of it is going right here. Officially, the People's Bank of China now holds a record-shattering 2,300 tons of gold. And to put that into perspective for you, this is not a one-off shopping spree. Nope. For over a year and a half, they have been adding to this pile, month after month after month, a absolutely relentless buying bin. So this brings us to the big central question. Why would you make this trade? Why turn your back on the US dollar, the very bedrock of global finance, and run towards gold, an asset some people have called a relic? Well, to figure that out, we first need to understand the power of the dollar itself. See, the US dollar, it's not just another currency. For more than 75 years, it has had this incredibly powerful, unique position in the world economy, a position that gives the United States some pretty amazing advantages. The dollar is the world's main reserve currency. So what does that mean? It means other countries hold on to US dollars to do business with each other and to keep their own economies stable. It's the default currency for oil, for copper, for global trade, and that creates this constant, unbelievable demand for dollars. This huge demand gives the US what's famously been called the exorbitant privilege. It lets America borrow money way more cheaply than other countries and gives it massive influence over the entire global financial system. But that privilege also makes every other country dependent on US economic policy. And that, right there, is a dependency China is desperately trying to escape. So if China wants out from under the dollar's influence, why is gold the answer? Well, this isn't some random bet. It is a very carefully calculated strategy with some really clear long-term goals. And buying gold is a huge part of its plan to get more financial independence. And this strategy, it's got a lot of layers. I mean, on one level, it's just smart diversification, but it's also a powerful geopolitical shield. Think about it. Physical gold, held inside your own borders, can't be frozen by sanctions, a painful lesson they saw Russia learn. Plus, China is already the world's biggest gold producer, so they've got a home field advantage. And the end game? Well, it seems to be using this massive gold pile to build international trust in its own currency, the yuan. And this quote right here gets to the ultimate appeal of gold. A U.S. Treasury bond, at the end of the day, is a promise. It's a promise from the U.S. government to pay you back. Its value depends entirely on that promise being kept. But a bar of gold? That's totally different. It's a physical thing with no counterparty risk. Its value doesn't depend on another country's promises or its policies. Okay, but here's where the story gets even more interesting. Those official numbers we've been talking about, they might only be scratching the surface of what China's really up to. So while the People's Bank of China officially reports about 2,300 tons, a lot of analysts think that's just the tip of the iceberg. When they look at trade data, mining output, they suspect the real number could be way, way higher. Maybe even over 5,000 tons in total. This extra gold could be held by other state-owned banks or funds, completely hidden from public view, masking the true scale of what they're doing. And look, this isn't something that just started last week. China's been quietly building up its gold for years, with these long stretches of silence, followed by these sudden, huge updates to their official numbers. But the pace has gone into overdrive recently. That tells us this long-term strategy is entering a new, much more aggressive phase. But this number right here, this might be the most crucial piece of the puzzle. Even with all that buying,
Gold makes up less than 2% of China's total foreign reserves. Now, compare that to over 70% for the US and Germany. This just shows you the insane scale of their potential buying power. They could keep this up for years and years and not even come close.
So when you put all these pieces together, selling treasuries, stockpiling gold both on and off the books, and this massive room to keep buying, a much bigger picture of the future of the global economy starts to take shape. Now, this isn't about the dollar collapsing tomorrow. That's not what's happening. Instead, what we're witnessing is the beginning of a deliberate, slow, long-term shift. China is laying the groundwork for a world where the dollar is just one of several big global currencies, not the only one. And gold is the anchor for that new system. So what's the bottom line here? What should you take away from all this? First, China is making a very clear, very strategic move to get away from its dependence on the US dollar. Second, in doing that, it is making gold a foundational asset for economic independence again. And third, this isn't just a story about China. It's a huge signal that the dollar-dominated financial world we've known for our entire lives is slowly, but surely, being redrawn. The tectonic plates of global finance are shifting, no doubt about it. China is making a huge bet that gold will give it a much more powerful voice in shaping whatever world comes next. And as this new financial map gets drawn, the real question is, who else is going to be holding the pen?